afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a pleasure to be back here in Vermont. As Gail mentioned, I'm a flatlander, although I don't really know what that means. I'd love someone to explain it to me afterwards. But when I was growing up, my family would come up to Vermont every summer for about 10 years or so, and we would summer for a month at Joe's Pond. Very fond memories of our summers here, and in fact, another connection to the state. My nephew Tom Goldman is a junior this year at UVM, right up the street, and loves so much Vermont so much he might not come home to Baltimore anymore. His mom is quite worried. But it's really a pleasure to be here again, and thanks for taking the time to meet with me this afternoon. We're running a little bit late, so I'm going to jump right into my discussion of why citizen diplomacy is good for business, and why we at Business for Diplomatic Action think that if we can bring the business community and what I would call the global citizen community together, it's really going to be a win-win situation for all involved. So in my presentation today, I'm really going to cover three areas. First, I want to start with the diplomatic side of the equation, and that concerns America and the world. And where do we stand in terms of global public opinion? What do people think of us, our people, what we're trying to accomplish globally? And that's, as I say, where sort of the diplomacy part of our discussion comes in. I then want to talk about the business imperative, and here what it really means to succeed in the global economy today. And that is, we think, one of the key issues facing many, if not most, businesses, is how they're affected by globalization and what it means for their opportunities internationally, but also what it means for their competition right here at home. So I want to spend a little bit of time on that perspective, on how business succeeds and engages in the global economy. And then finally, to turn to the citizen connection and discuss why citizen diplomacy matters. Why and how can working with groups like the World Affairs Council, like the International Visitor Centers, make a difference, not just to your business, but also to your local communities, and why we think these types of partnerships are really worth seriously considering as you look ahead to your economic future. Before I get into the gist of it, let me just give you a quick introduction to Business for Diplomatic Action. We were founded shortly after the attacks of 9/11 by a small group of New York City-based business executives, myself, Pete Reinhardt, who is the CEO of a major advertising firm, and others. And we were founded with the mission and the belief that we knew the world was going to change. We weren't sure how it was going to change, but we thought that the private sector and the business community in particular had a lot to contribute to understanding those changes and hopefully guiding things in a positive direction. Since that time, we have been joined on our board by companies such as McDonald's and American Airlines, Google. We have both Coke and Pepsi, so we like to say we can solve the Cold Wars with anything. Sit in the same boardroom, we're coordinating together. And we've launched a number of programs in this area that do directly involve the business community and the citizen diplomacy community working together. And I want to give you a few examples of those at the end of my presentation. So that's just a little bit about Business for Diplomatic Action. Again, we're a young organization, but we are growing, and we hope to be more influential, frankly, in the future in these issues than we have been in years today. So let's start by talking about America and the world and where opinion about America stands today. And this is a critical issue for us as Americans. If any of you like to travel internationally, you know there's been certain issues with travel and tourism for us over the past few years. For us as business people, there have been some real problems and concerns related to foreign public's attitudes and consumers' attitudes towards American products and services. And these are things, I think, that frame the context of this general issue of globalization. I'd like to start with a quote from the CEO of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Tom Donahue. And he says, "A climate of global cooperation is essential for our national security, our economy, and our future. Now, of course, Mr. Donahue, who worked closely with the Chamber in Washington, is one of the biggest proponents of free trade, free investment, free movement of workers across borders, and we ascribe to those beliefs. We do think that globalization is one of the key trends, again, influencing not just the business community, but civil societies everywhere, and one that needs to be addressed. But it's the spirit of cooperation that is really key here. And cooperation at the global level really cannot happen unless America is at the table. And not only at the table, but we would argue in a leadership position at that table. We are, after all, still the world's largest economy by far, even if China has just surpassed Japan in the #2 slot a couple weeks ago. We are, of course, the world's military superpower by far, spending more on defense every year than every other nation combined. So we are de facto world leaders, and we need to sit at that table and shape the discussion about key global issues in such a way to move things along that are consistent with not only our national interests, but also with our social values. Now, opinions about the United States have been on a bit of a roller coaster ride in recent years. Now, here's what happened between the year 2000, pre-9/11, and 2008. At the end of the previous president's administration. And you can see that public attitudes in Germany, Turkey, Indonesia, Argentina, pretty much all over the world, soured very dramatically indeed. For a researcher, and that's my background, as Gail mentioned, these are very, very dramatic changes in opinion. Drop of 47 percentage points in Germany, 40 percentage points in favorable opinion in Turkey, and on down the line. So things really got to be quite grim in terms of what other people thought, not just of our country, but also of us as Americans, much less many of our administration's personalities as well as policies. Now, some people say, well, who cares what people think about us? That's just attitude, right? So they'll get over it. Well, there were some disturbing examples that affected the American business community over this period in terms of how this anti-American sentiment was playing out in the marketplace. So in the top left, that's a restaurant in South Korea, Silent Door, Americans not welcome here. Bottom left, that's an ad for a brand of jeans from China, saying America is the police of the world, don't wear its uniform, Levi's of course. Fête à manger, what are we? Well, we're a cross between a good restaurant and an Italian coffee bar. We're not French and definitely not American. Or in the lower right-hand screen, this ad on a billboard for the smart car in South Africa. German engineering, Swiss innovation, American nothing. Well, apart from the fact that I would question the whole Swiss innovation bit, what is kind of ironic about this is that the billboard is owned by Clear Channel Communications, an American company that also sits on our board. So